So thank you so much. I really hope that you enjoyed our panel discussion, and thank you again to our excellent moderator, Monique, for not only keeping our conversation flowing, but keeping punctual, which is always appreciated. We have so many speakers with such interesting stories to tell. It's great to get them up on stage for you. It is one of the aspects of this conference that each different subject and each different speaker will cover a range of different applications of AI, and it reminds all of us about the breadth of the potential of AI to impact really every facet of our life. We've heard already from commerce, from education and learning, from infrastructure optimization. So I'm very excited to turn our attentions to the field of health. So for our next talk, our title is Harnessing AI for Precision Medicine's Next Leap. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Puthen, Veettil, Jithesh. Please join me on stage. Jithesh is the Associate Dean for Education and Program Coordinator for the Genomics and Precision Medicine. He is also Associate Professor at the College of Health and Life Sciences and at the Hamad bin Khalifa University Qatar Foundation. So an extraordinary list of credentials, a really interesting topic. I can't wait to hear what he has to tell us. So Jithesh, welcome to the stage. That's your prompter, and enjoy your talk. A pleasure.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for staying in the afternoon after having a nice lunch. So my topic, as Daniel introduced, is harnessing AI for precision medicine's next leap. So it's a very broad field, and there is quite a lot to cover, but which I'm not trying to attempt. So what I'll try to do is to just cherry pick a few examples of these and then try to present to you. So to start with, let me talk about one of my work that I did maybe 15, 20 years ago. So this is something to try and generate a gene expression signature that can predict response to chemotherapy. In this case, specifically, we were looking at irinotecan, which is used as a treatment for colorectal cancer mainly. So we used gene expression data from microarrays at that time. That was the high throughput method available for generating gene expression data. And then we used feature selection methods and then different machine learning algorithms, such as k-nearest neighbors, linear discriminant analysis, diagonal LDA, artificial neural networks, random forest, support vector machine, all that we could do at the time. And I looked at this 21 gene classifier, how they perform. And as you can see that the performance is varied across these different models. So this is an example of pharmacogenomics, which is the way we try to predict response to treatment. And this is an important facet of precision medicine. And of course, this is often considered, pharmacogenomics is often considered as a poster child for precision medicine. Of course, when it comes to precision medicine, there are other aspects, such as early detection of individuals at risk. Risk prediction is an important aspect of precision medicine, which will help in improving preventive measures. Enabling precise diagnosis of conditions, diseases is an important aspect of precision medicine, which will provide us with appropriate therapy for the specific disease that the patient has. And predicting the prognosis or survival or whether the possibility of relapse is also important. And I mentioned already about pharmacogenomics trying to predict the response to treatment. And another aspect of precision medicine is developing novel therapeutics. Okay, so how do we realize precision medicine is by using large sets of data. I mentioned about the gene expression data that I used 15, 20 years ago. Now we have so many different technologies, high throughput technologies that are developing, that are generating a huge amount of data. So now we are in this big data era, coming from all these omics, genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, all these omics technologies on one hand. On the other hand, we have the clinical parameters that are coming from maybe the hospital, or even now it is coming from wearable devices, actually. So these clinical parameters that are generated It can be the biochemical kind of measurements or physiological measurements, or even image kind of data that is coming from clinics. So all this information need to be integrated and analyzed to find a solution for the specific patient that we are looking at, or the specific individual that we are looking at, if we were to predict risk of developing a disease. So that's where artificial intelligence comes into picture, like other, as we have seen so many other aspects that where artificial intelligence is trying to kind of help with this integration of data and generate some informative output. So I will, as I said, I'll only give some examples, these are randomly picked examples that I want to give about these different aspects of precision medicine. So let me start with disease risk prediction. So this is, in this case, the authors have developed an AI-based integration of genetic and medical imaging data. So what they have done is, this is an example from Taiwan. They used the Taiwanese biobank, 70,000 samples from that cohort, and then they generated a polygenic risk score, which is coming from the genomic data, trying to find genetic variants which are associated with the risk of developing the condition. But they also had a multi-image risk score as well, which was developed from large number of image modalities like ECG, say carotid artery ultrasonography, and abdominal ultrasonography, and bone mineral density. So all these kind of information, image kind of modalities were combined to generate a multi-image risk score in this case. And they kind of combined all this information along with demographic factors like age, sex, and the family history of type 2 diabetes to generate this risk predictor, which was able to, and then they used the machine learning algorithm extreme gradient boosting in this case, and then generated this, which was able to predict the risk of type 2 diabetes with about 94% accuracy. So that's just one example of disease risk prediction. There are hundreds of thousands of examples like that. So now, when we talk about precision diagnosis, this is one of the examples that, I work on rare genetic disorders where we try to recruit these patients with children with genetic conditions, Mendelian disorders, and we will have the genome sequenced, not only of the patient, but the family members as well, if the parents are available and they are recruited. And of course, Middle East is very good for doing such kind of research. It's unfortunate that there are so many patients here, but then it's good that we can do such genetic research here because of the high levels of consanguinity and also large family size here. So we have multiple members of the family who are affected, and also we have, when we recruit these patients, we can do a genome analysis to identify what is a specific genetic variant that is causing the specific genetic syndrome. But this is actually a reverse kind of genetics that I'm going to talk about here, which is using the facial features. Of course, many of these genetic disorders come with facial dysmorphisms. So can we actually look at the facial dysmorphism and try to predict what genetic syndrome they have? So in this case, the authors actually worked on developing what is called a deep learning algorithm called Deep Gestalt, where they used convolutional neural network, and then starting from the features from these facial images, they actually ended up predicting the kind of the genetic syndromes. So that's about precision diagnosis. Of course, diagnosing is not enough. We can diagnose and find that, okay, there is a specific molecular cause for this disease, but can we actually give some treatment to those conditions? Of course, we know that there are not treatment available for all the diseases, and especially rare diseases. So this is where drug repurposing comes into picture. So we need to think about, can those drugs which have been approved already, we know that their safety profile, their efficacy profile, can those be used in another setting for another disease? That's where this is an example of developing a foundation model for drug repurposing using graph neural network. So in this case, what they are looking at is kind of a zero-shot drug repurposing, rather than having all the information about the disease and also the drugs. So they're trying to kind of develop this from the knowledge that is available, but kind of trying to have a generative AI kind of approach. Now, I already mentioned about drug response prediction, and we have seen that some examples, but then now we are in a stage where people are trying to develop kind of deep learning libraries, actually, which can be used, especially in the cancer field. You know that there is quite a lot of data that's already available, where scientists have looked at the profile of the drug response in cell cultures, and then can we actually use this information along with the information about the cell itself? So in this case, what they have done is to use, again, develop a deep learning kind of algorithm where they use the molecular features and also the cellular features, the features of the drug, such as the molecular fingerprint, and also from the cell features, such as the expression data or the pathway enrichment scores, and the mutations and copy number variations. And then using a number of deep learning algorithms, the deep neural networks, convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and graph neural networks, all these different aspects, and try to kind of create a library, which if you want to use, then you can actually give the information about specific drug, and then you can actually see whether those can be, we can predict a response to that drug. Of course, one of the important aspects of generative AI, the application of generative AI is drug discovery and research. So in this case, GenAI can create novel protein sequences with specific properties. Of course, we are interested in generating specific proteins with specific sequences and properties, so that this can be used as antibodies, because now most of these targeted drug treatments are coming with through the development of monoclonal antibodies, for example. And we can actually develop vaccines using this methodology. Of course, I don't have to explain to you about AlphaFold, because this has become very famous, because the recent Nobel winning scientist to 2024 Nobel Prize for Chemistry went to the developers of AlphaFold. Of course, the initial AlphaFold, so the basic premise is actually the grand challenge that biology had for about 50 years, protein folding. So how can we start from the sequence of the protein, and how we can visualize the structure of the protein without having other information, just from the sequence of the protein. This has been solved now. This was considered as a non-deterministic polynomial complete, NP complete problem, but now it has been solved using this methodology, using this generative AI approach. And initially, they developed a predictor that could predict all the available protein structures from sequence, about 200 million protein structures. But now the latest version, using this transformer-based model, what they have developed is to predict not only the structure of the protein, but the interaction of the protein with other proteins, or DNA, RNA, and even small molecule ligands. So this is actually helping in drug discovery in a big manner. Okay, so just to give another, of course, we are in this stage talking about AI because of big data. And there is a huge amount of data, as I said, generated within the healthcare field as well. But still, we don't have enough data for some of the cases. For example, in rare diseases, we don't have a lot of data. Or we want to do some clinical trials, we don't have enough data. So that's where synthetic data comes into picture. We have already heard about synthetic data from other panelists earlier. And Cynthia is one of those examples of synthetic data using generative AI, where it's useful for training AI models and also simulating clinical trials. Of course, patient care personalization is another important aspect. We just heard from one of the panelists that there is the development of an avatar of a pharmacist. So this is something trying to help kind of transfer the whole load from a pharmacist to this avatar, who will be able to generate the information required about a specific prescription to the doctor. Now, if you look at these kind of chatbots, they are actually developed using generative AI, and then they are actually doing a fantastic job. For example, if you go to a direct-to-consumer genotyping company and then do your genotyping, and you get a report, you don't know what exactly to do with it. There are now chatbots who can help you with understanding what the report means and any other consequences of it, like a genetic counselor, for example. Now, the next AI technology that is now coming up is the agentic AI. We have heard about AI agents now. So AI agents can actually use more sophisticated reasoning and iterative planning to autonomously solve complex multi-step problems. So that's what agentic AIs will be able to help with. Of course, harnessing AI for precision medicine does not come without challenges. So we have these so many different challenges. This is, I would say, majority of these are not specific to the precision medicine kind of field, but this is common with all the other fields where AI is being used. If you take the case of, for example, improving interoperability and data accessibility, then that is something we know that it's very important in this. Fostering cross-disciplinary collaboration is an important aspect. Of course, we know that in the clinics now there is a multidisciplinary team of doctor and the other allied healthcare professionals who actually look at the patient, one patient's record, and try to come up with specific appropriate treatment. But can we include AI kind of specialists also, or bioinformaticians and other people who actually deal with the data in there so that they will have a better understanding of what they are dealing with, and we can have more realistic models that are generated? I'll not go through all this because of the time constraints, but of course the AI and precision medicine market are both looking really, really progressive, and we can see that they are developing at a very good pace. If you look at the global precision medicine market here on the left, you can see that in 2023 it was about $87 billion US, and now in 2030 it is predicted to be around $250 billion US. And similarly, AI, on the other hand, you can see that there is about close to $200 billion US in 2023, and in 2030 it's expected to be about 1.8 trillion. So that's how it is growing. And again, if you look at specific AI in healthcare, you can see that again there is a great increase starting from 2023 from $20 billion to, if you look at 2034, it's about 600. That's the forecast for AI in healthcare. Specifically, the AI in precision medicine, it looks like a bit conservative kind of estimate, but you can see that there is in 2023, it was like about $2 billion US. Now in 2034, it's going to be about 27 billion US. So I will finally stop with this quote that you have seen many times over the media, like AI will not replace you, a person using AI will. Of course, if you look at some examples, there was a study where they looked at whether AI can do a precision diagnosis on its own or with the help of a physician, and then or the physician using the help of AI. And it was shown that the difference was about 36%. Actually, the synergy between the physician and AI actually in predicting is much better than actually each one trying to do the job. So that's where we are. I'll stop here, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Absolutely fascinating presentation. Thank you so much, Jithesh. So my mother is from a very small rural town in Ireland called County Waterford. Anybody from County Waterford in? I didn't think so. When she was younger, there were many things for which you could go to the doctor. However, there were some things that had no known cure. And so you would go to a local person in the town, in the village, usually just outside the edge of town, and they would have the cure. And the cure could be rheumatoid arthritis, it could be allergies, and you would visit this person, and they would ask you to rub some leaves on the affected part, or to incant some poem, or to drink some unusual combination of herbs, and they were known in the village for having the cure. Now, why do I tell you the story? I am hopeful that the way my children will look at me is the same way that I look at my mom when she tells me these stories. The innovations that we are on the precipice of delivering with AI for healthcare, we will look to our children as though we are living in the Stone Age. Incredible work and such a multifaceted approach to healthcare solutions. I'm so keen to get our next speaker on stage as well. We do have time for one question for Jithesh. If we can take first past the post, sir. If we get a microphone to the gentleman in the standing up.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. Really enjoyed it. Can you give us your opinion on how you think these products are going to reach the market, like for medical doctors? You said you think it's a collaborative team, data scientists, medical doctors, but how would you think the marketplace is going to look?
No, I think there is actually great potential. Of course, now the development of these technologies, it's been at a very fast pace that the people who have been trained already in the specific fields are finding it difficult to kind of accommodate what is coming to them. But then, of course, now there's more awareness, and of course, as Daniel said, children are kind of teaching us now, actually. So, which means we are trying to understand what is available now and how we can kind of improve ourselves when at the workplace. So the doctors and the healthcare professionals would certainly want that. Actually, even though I know that introducing something new, always that change management is not that easy, but definitely there is a market now. And it's going to be, even if somebody doesn't want to take that, but still they'll be forced to take it eventually. So there is a huge market for
I completely agree that there's a big market. It's more about these products should be certified. They're kind of digital therapeutics. So,
yes, I mean, if it has to be used in that context in a clinical setting, definitely it has to be certified. So that's very important, actually. So otherwise, just like we have seen with ChatGPT and other kind of sources where you can input anything and get something out as well. So we cannot rely on everything that is coming out of these sources. So definitely a certification, proper kind of scrutiny has to be done before it has to be marketed, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm reminded of that hackneyed phrase, with great power comes great responsibility, and the responsibility for oversight, of course, is tremendous in the field of healthcare. It's such an absolute honor. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed your talk. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure.